Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 420. Today we're going to talk about Rum and Bones. This is a two-player pirate ship game from Cool Mini or Not. So what each player is doing is they'll take on a faction of pirates. They'll have 5 sort of heroes or specialty pirates that they're going to have on their side, and you're basically going to be sieging the other ship. Sort of rigging back and forth, sending troops over gangplanks, maybe dealing with krakens and special dragons and things, and trying to just sort of destroy special locations on their ships and accrue victory points. So it's a very simple, straightforward game with awesome minis, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But let's go ahead and jump in and see how it works, and I'll tell you what I think. Now, as I said, Rum and Bones is a 2-player game. There are rules for more than 2, but you're basically playing in 2 separate teams, controlling one faction of pirates along with their specialty pirates and heroes. It's set, as you can see, in sort of a Pirates of the Caribbean-ish type of world where there's some magic, there's some mysticism, there's even undead pirates and so on. Now here we can see all of the components that you get in the game. There's 2 separate pirate ships. One player controls one player controls the other. And you'll start with an assortment of your basic crew on board. And one note with what seems to be all Cool Mini or Not games is they come with these awesome plastic molds for easily storing your miniatures so they don't get damaged, which is just awesome. It's great. And we can take a quick look at some of the different miniatures for the different heroes. Here we can see the 2 different captains, and these heroes have different special abilities and so on, and they have a certain amount of hit points. Here we can see the 2 gunners. We've got Ghost Eye Gunther and Blackout Bart, and we've got the Swashbucklers, the Spectre, and Mad Ivan, and so on. And these are really cool, really individualized. Even some of the different crew members that have the same abilities, they have different models for them, so you can mix it up and play with it as you wish. Now each player is going to have to choose a faction, and they're going to get a deck of cards that go particular to that faction. And you'll set up the board, as you can see here, with 3 groups of 4 of their basic crew of that faction. And then you'll have to choose 5 heroes, and you've got to choose a captain, a gunner, a swashbuckler, a quartermaster, and a brute. You've got to choose one of each. And if you look at here, the captain, Albrecht the Damned, he's associated with a particular faction, but you could use a neutral or mercenary captain or gunner and so on. Now the set that you see here only comes with the 2 factions and the 2 groups of faction-specific heroes, but there are expansions and other things that you can get, of course. And each of these characters and heroes has 3 special abilities that they can use. There'll be different attacks, maybe different reactions or special buffs and things that they can cast onto the other characters on the board. Now the game itself is actually very, very simple. Everything you can see on the back of the rulebook here in the rule summary is all you need to know in the game. Once somebody reads the rulebook once, then you're just going to need to be able to refer to the back of this. It's going to play super quick, and turns will get snappy once you get the hang of it. Now the object of the game is to destroy special locations on your opponent's ship. Here we can see the wheel, and a couple things you can notice about the wheel is in the upper right hand corner you can see this is worth 2 victory points. In the lower right hand you can see it has 8 hit points. You need to do 8 damage to this particular object to capture it, and you'll flip it over and capture it, and this will give you a special ability. You can see it's going to give you immediately 2 coins. I'll explain what the coins do in a minute, but it'll also give you the 2 victory points plus the special ability of having +1 tide card hand limit. Now it is possible for creatures to come out on the board. Here we can see the Kraken. Now the Kraken may come out and be triggered through card play by the players, but if it does come out, you can kill it. You can get 2 victory points, as you can see here, and friendly heroes' attacks will get a +1 die on their attacks. Now the first thing you're going to do on your turn is you're going to distribute one of these Davy Jones coins to each hero that you have currently not on the board, and this is a hero in reserve. So each hero that's currently not KO'd is going to get and accrue these coins turn after turn. Now if a hero does get KO'd, they'll be put back on their card, and this little marker here will be put on there, and it'll sort of flip over after turns, and then it'll be available again to be deployed, and then be considered in reserve and not KO'd. Then after distributing the coins, then you can fire your deck gun, and that is if it's still available. And the deck gun is going to attack just like everything in the game is going to attack. Now if we take a look here, you can see you get 4 dice to roll, and it's going to hit on a 4 or higher, 4+. And the special ability with the deck gun is you can target any zone on the board, you roll the dice, and then you're going to do damage to anything that's there, except for an objective itself. So you can't damage your opponent's objective with the deck gun. So let's say we had targeted this space, we rolled our 4 die. We've rolled a 4 or a 5 here. That means we're going to get 2 hits. And the way that hits work is you start with kind of going through the fodder, the crew. You can see these have square bases. Now each team also has these models here with a round base. Once you've chewed through all of the models with square bases, then any other hits left over will go to anybody with a round base. And then after that, you will apply any hits to heroes. Now all of the non-heroes are going to die on a single hit, but you can see the heroes have a certain amount of hit points, and you'll just use these markers here to denote that. After attacking with your gun, you're going to deploy crew, and you can deploy 2 to each of the deployment zones, and that's the zone just behind each of the center objectives. And then you take 2 of your bosun crew, these are the crew with the round bases, and you put them in and you distribute them among the 3 deployment points. And at this point, any of your crew is going to attack anybody that's adjacent, and everybody's just going to move in a straight line forward towards the opponent's ship. Now you can deploy heroes. You can have up to 3 heroes sort of active. Now you may have any heroes overboard, and they will be denoted by having their model turned down on top of their card. These will immediately come back onto the board into a deployment zone. And then you're going to count the number of deployed heroes that you have, plus the number of heroes that have the dead man token on there. And if you have less than 3, then you'll deploy heroes out onto the board until you have 3 heroes that are either active or dead. Then you can activate each of the heroes. They can do up to 3 actions, and there's a few things that they can do. They can do a move, and they can move up to 2 zones. They can do a rigging, which is going to allow you to move from one ship to another without crossing the gangplanks. And you're going to count the number of spaces that they're going to rig. So in this case, if we had this hero here and they wanted to rig to this spot here, this is 2 spaces away. They'll roll a die, and if they are equal to or higher than the number of spaces they're trying to move, they will move to that spot. And the other interesting thing to note about rigging is when you rig, that's kind of like moving 1 space. So on a normal move, you move 2 spaces, but when you rig, you can rig to a spot and then move. So you can sort of try to get to a really far spot, sort of maybe behind enemy lines from the edge of your boat there. The other cool thing is if you fail, you actually fall in the water and go overboard, which is hilarious. Now the other thing that you can do is do one of your actions or attacks on your hero card. And you can see some of these have a cost. So the top here we have Blade of the Damned. This is a basic attack. It doesn't really cost us any of the Dead Man coins, but underneath that we've got Dead Man Shot that actually costs us 2 coins. And then at the bottom we have Devil's Due, which costs us 4. Now the heroes are really the whole game. So you're gonna kind of leave some out, sort of accruing tokens after a while, and then kind of bring them in later. You'll send some in, and you'll try to do their different special abilities. Now when you attack and kill other crew members, little peons, you get a Davy Jones token from them just for killing them. And if you attack and kill your opponent's heroes, you'll actually take their tokens from them and then add them to your hero. Now if you kill them with your sort of peons, they just go to the bank. But if you kill them with your hero, then you get those cool tokens, and then that's just going to sort of steamroll and build up. So you're trying to sort of build up and just build this big hero that kind of charges and does multiple cool turns in a row, which is really cool. Now the next thing to mention are these tide cards. And as I said, each faction gets their own little deck. And you're going to start with none of these, but then at the end of the first turn you'll draw up to 3, and then each turn after that you will be able to discard whatever you want and then draw back up to 3. And these do a variety of cool things. And the cards tell you when you can play them. For example, this one says after an enemy hero makes an attack roll, that hero suffers -1 to hit for this attack. In this one, for example, you can play on your turn, a friendly turn, and it says deal 2 damage to a friendly hero and then give that hero 3 coins. So it's a way of kind of like moving coins around and start stacking up somebody again to kind of do a cool chain of special abilities. But the one thing I wanted to notice here is as you look down here, there's a Kraken symbol. Now normally when you play cards, they're going to go into your discard pile, but if they have this symbol here and you've played them for their effect, you'll put them in sort of a little Kraken pile. And at the end of each player's turn, they're going to roll 2 dice. And if the result on the die is equal to or lower than the total number of Kraken cards that have been played by both players, then this Kraken is going to come out here in the center of the board, and it's going to do various attacks every turn. And there's also a Sea Dragon that can come out as well. And there's 2 cards here that give you aid on how to trigger their attacks and things. It's really straightforward. And that's pretty much how you play Rum Bones. You just go back and forth, taking turn after turn. The first player to get 6 victory points is the winner. One thing I didn't mention is when you roll to attack for your basic crew, you just roll 1 die for each crew member. and then they hit on a 4+. Unless they have one of the circle bases, the bosuns with them, then they hit on a 3+. But you don't really control those. They just kind of move forward and just keep smashing against your opponent, trying to move over and just hit everybody and sort of rush to get to their sort of central objective points. The real sort of tactics and strategy of the game comes from controlling the heroes. So what do I think of the game? I really enjoy this game. I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed it. I wouldn't call this a filler game, but it kind of borders on that. It takes about an hour, and it seems to sort of be right about that range, which is nice. But it's really simple. I mean, you just are like, okay, I'll put some guys out. They're going to move up. They're going to attack anybody that's next to them, activate my 3 heroes if I've got them, and just try to, you know, get some extra coins on the different heroes and do the bigger and cooler attacks. And then just sort of kind of strategize and say, okay, well, you're kind of weak here. I'll soften you up. I'll send my hero over. Maybe I'll rig him over there and, you know, try to get some hits in on your cannon or on your ship or your sails or whatever, and just kind of go from there. So it plays really straightforward from the terms of like complexity of the rules. There's like, it's not really there. It's all sort of in the tactical, you know, different decisions that you have to make with, you know, your heroes, and that's all the game really is. But that is a lot of fun. The special abilities are really cool. There's a lot of sort of decision making. You know, do I damage my hero to do this? Do I send him in there? He's going to get mauled if I leave him there. And you kind of do a little bit of feinting and bluffing and that kind of stuff with the attacking. It looks fantastic on the board. The only thing I would sort of, it kind of, I want to say it is a negative way, but it's not really negative. It's like, okay, there's only 2 factions and that's all you get. But then you kind of look at all the stuff that you get in the box and it's like, oh, that's a ton of stuff. You get a lot of cool minis and everything, and the box is full. I mean, you open the box and there's not really a lot of room to put anything else in there. But I do find myself kind of wanting to play some of the different factions and the mercenaries and stuff. But that's not really a negative. It's just like, okay, I want to get some expansions now. Oh, okay, that's going to cost money. But I do like the cards. They're really fun and just, you know, flavorful, and just, they're, you know, surprising, and they, you know, just have that tactical card play that's fun in these kind of games. So I really like that, and it's just one of those games that is really fun. It's got a cool pirate theme, which you don't really see a lot of, and it's sort of the ship-to-ship thing, which is really neat. And I really get a big kick out of the rigging, you know, sort of swinging across and trying to get over to, you know, behind enemy lines, sort of sneak in and get a whack at somebody, or, you know, you've got sort of a weak point or something. I see some kind of strategic advantage or something I can do there. But it's really fun, you know, that's all that the game really is. It's just sort of a roller coaster ride of a game, but they did such a great job with the production and thinking about the special abilities and everything. I would really recommend this for anybody. Families would like to play this, I think. And it's got a sort of a silly sort of theme, but it works really well. And everything is just a really great package, and it all kind of makes sense. There's some cool little sort of bonus like paragraphs and stuff sort of talking about the world and Davy Jones and, you know, what's going on in the world of Rum and Bones. So very cool. Definitely take a look at this one. It's a lot of fun. Thanks.